Happy Friday. We will give it just a few minutes here for folks to log on, to stream in. If you're on with us today, don't be shy. Put a little something in the chat box. Say hello. Tell us where you're streaming in from. Hello, Keith and Marie, my personal heroes. I love you. So as always, we will just give it a few moments here on this beautiful Friday. Okay, I've got some very straight hair today. It's just one of those days. Yeah. Hi, Caroline Jordan. Happy Friday to you. Glad you have time to join us today. Nice to see you here. Hi, Penny from Graham, Texas. Hello, hello. Well, I am very happy to be back with you today. You may have noticed that last week we did not have Put a Myrtle on It, and that is because I had to put a myrtle on myself. I had to put a myrtle on myself. For those of you in this area, you know that Thursday of last week was a very icy day, and I had an unfortunate fall, letting one of our dogs, Bella, out, and I'm still very much healing from it. I landed right on my coccyx, also called the tailbone. Landed on my tailbone. I landed so hard that my shoes went flying. And yet I am so incredibly grateful. I didn't break anything. I didn't break my wrist or get a concussion. There are many things for which to be grateful, but I am still very much healing some pretty severe bruising. So anyway, was not able to be here last Friday because I was practicing what I preach. That's what I was doing. I was putting a myrtle on my own self, right? Anyway, so I hope everybody is doing well. Okay, we'll just jump right in here. And for anyone who joins us, that'll be fantastic. So, of course, I am Reverend Ann Tabor. And guess what? This is episode 68 of Put a Myrtle on It, the place to be for a little myrtle, a little prayer, and we are going to sing a little song. So a little song. Now, if you are new to Unity and maybe not all that familiar with who Myrtle is and why this is called Put a Myrtle on It, I'm just going to share a few little highlights with you. Myrtle Fillmore, along with her husband Charles, founded the Unity movement. They co-founded the Unity movement back in the late 1800s and started with a healing for myrtle. We absolutely believe in the power of affirmative prayer and healing and medicine and all that good stuff. But that's how this movement began. And over time, Silent Unity, one of the longest running telephone prayer ministries in the world, actually developed from their beginnings and also based at Unity Village in Lee Summit, Missouri. And there's also the Daily Word magazine, Daily Word, which is a fantastic daily devotional. If you're not familiar with it, I encourage you. You can always, by the way, go to dailyword.com and you can read it for free. But I encourage you to subscribe. I get the large print version. So those are a couple of things. I am, of course, a Unity minister, licensed, ordained. I have a Master of Divinity. And when I was in seminary, I coined this phrase. Let's see, put a myrtle on it, because I love Myrtle Fillmore. And I know, as I was just sharing, I'm putting a myrtle on myself. I know that her principles, her teachings are just as relevant today as they were when she originally wrote about them. And so, in other words, it works if you work it, right? You have to be willing. There's that great teaching. You have to be teachable. You have to be willing, right? You have to put these principles into practice. And so every Friday, until otherwise notified, we're going to come together here at 12 noon Central Time. Of course, you can watch anytime. We are live streaming through Daily Fillmore. We're live streaming through Unity of Arlington, and also through our YouTube channel, which means you can access, these recordings at any time. Isn't that fantastic? And I know a lot of you do. Okay, so with that, I want to move right along after I have a sip of tea. Hi, Catherine Ann Smith. Happy Friday. Happy Friday. I want to move right along now to our message for today. Today, I'm going to be reading from Myrtle's book, Healing Letters. And the world is open to healing right now. And so each and every one of us must show up as the presence of love to be a part of this healing. Of course, we hold the people of Ukraine in our hearts and in our prayers, and we hold the people of Russia in our hearts and in our prayers. And we hold the sacred space for the best and highest good for all concerned to unfold. And so we're going to be reading from Myrtle's book, Healing Letters, today. And interestingly, this chapter, I love the title here. The chapter title is Concerning Age. Now, she shares a lot in here about age, but the truth is the fundamental of what she's teaching here, the metaphysics of what she's teaching here, and even the theological implications of what she's teaching here is about so much more. And what I mean by that is, in New Thought, in Unity, our understanding is that health and wealth are the very same thing. Health and wealth are the very same thing. And it all comes from an abundance consciousness in the understanding that we are one with God and all things are possible. But again, we have to be teachable. We have to be willing to be open to our best and highest good and then put them into practice. Okay, so if you have Healing Letters, the chapter starts on page 91, but I am actually going to begin on page 92, about halfway down. She says, the age belief says that at a certain period, the body begins to grow a little sluggish and to take on flesh and to be less alive. Now, I'm just going to have a full confession here that, I have noticed that, of course, over this last week or so, because I'm healing, but, anytime you're like, oh, my aching, whatever, fill in the blank. That's what Myrtle's talking about here, right? There's an age belief that at a certain time, we are going to become sluggish. And so here's what she says about that. The cell structures respond to this error belief, right? Because we begin to believe what we say and what we do. And the person becomes tired easily and the body slows down or suffers from pains. Now, this is essential. Myrtle says, all this you see is mental. All of this is mental. Now, if you don't believe that, just think about the power of the placebo. Moving on. Then there is the physical cause of age, one who does not understand that the body requires care day by day, often fails to do that which is truly best for the body. It is a common error among us that we do not exercise, rest, work, eat, and drink as we should. Food habits are perhaps the most direct in their effects on the system. And so, in other words, and we know this to be true, right? There is a cause and effect. And so some of us just simply are not practicing what is best for our mind, body, spirit, and how they are integrally connected, right? So I want you to right now just pause for a minute. Hi, Kaylee. Hi. I want you to pause for just a minute and just ask yourself, am I doing what is best for my body? Am I doing those things in terms of rest and food and work, right? Am I doing the best for my body? Now, if you know me, you know that my maternal grandmother, who I called Dynamo Doris, lived to 106. And let me tell you, it wasn't because of how she ate. It was not. I mean, she literally would put salt in her coffee. She had a little bit of strawberry with sugar, like just a little bit of pancake or waffle with her butter. That's how she ate. True story. But you know what? She didn't have mind games about it. She didn't beat herself up about it. And somehow, at least in my age, I'm 61, right? So for those of us, of this era, we grew up with all those body conscious ideas. And certainly the generations that I followed. If you want to know more about that, just take a look at Instagram and, the popularity of the selfie, right? But what are you actually doing to help your body be healthy without judgment, right? Okay, moving right along. Now, at the top of page 93, she says, this is so good. Myrtle says, we cannot advise you in the matter of operations, nor do we promise good results from prayer when the individual is deliberately going contrary to the spiritual law of life and health. Right? So if you forget the fact that your doctor tells you or your loved ones tell you to stop smoking or to stop drinking so heavy or whatever it is, fill in the blank, like if you continue to deliberately go contrary to the spiritual law of life and health, then, Myrtle's saying, we're not going to advise you on that, right? She says, youth and the good looks of youth are the fruits of young and eager and joyous and loving attitudes of mind and heart. Obedience, now there's a word you don't hear too often in unity. Obedience to the law of love and life results in harmony and order in the organism, meaning the body. The flesh pictures forth fixed attitudes of mind. Now, there's a great quote from Henry Ward Beecher that says, it's not well for a man to pray cream and then live skim milk, right? So be mindful of what you're praying and then how you're actually physically carrying that out, right? Are those two things in alignment, or are they, as Myrtle says, contrary to one another? Okay. Moving on now to page 94. And, this is a key idea here. I have to tell you, when I was reading this morning, this is one of those things that I know I've read it hundreds of times, but today it just jumped off this page. Like, did someone add that in? And of course they didn't, but here we go. She says, let go of the mental attitude that causes a sense of burden, that belief in age that weighs one down with years, right? And, you probably know folks like that who use their age as a banner for why things are a certain way, right? Now, here's the sentence that I just think is genius. Here's what she wrote. You live in God, not in years. You live in God, not years. You live in deeds, not in figures upon a dial, right? So just take that in. What if every day you add this to your affirmative prayer? What if you say, I live in God, not in years? Because of course we know that The soul is eternal, and the soul has no gender. The soul has no age whatsoever, right? We live in God, not in years. She says, instead of thinking I'm getting up in years, get into the youth spirit of joy in living and loving. You will notice that we did not say a good old man, for you are not old. You may have given way to some of the beliefs in age and failed to take care of yourself and to make full, free use of the abundant life and substance of God, but you are not old. I have to say, I know on a number of occasions I have said, who are you calling old? Not me. So I want you to take that with you today. Let that be your affirmation today. I live in God. I live in God, not years. Okay, moving right along. Now I'm going to pop on over to page 96. This is so good. So good. Okay, just around the top of the page here, she writes, keep on praying for faith, because it is through prayer that you develop all your wonderful qualities of soul. It is not the drugs that do the healing. Take that in. Now, we believe in medicine, so don't get the wrong idea. But she says it is not the drugs that do the healing. They're just something tangible upon which to place your attention while God in the midst of you is doing his work of restoration. And then she quotes, I am the Lord, your healer, from Exodus. Now, a couple of things here. Again, I mentioned there could be, goodness gracious, the idea of the placebo and how that works and the studies around the placebo are certainly a testimony, I want to say, to it's not first and foremost the drugs that heal, right? One of my favorite Unity ministers, Bishop Barbara King, used to say, let God be in the medicine. You've probably heard me say that. Let God be in the medicine. So we're all about that. Again, the willingness to allow healing, especially when we've created all these belief systems that might be contrary, right? But years ago, I remember Deepak Chopra said, in reality, doctors don't heal their patients. They only help facilitate what's lacking. And so even with modern medicine, it only knows a small percentage of what your body really needs, which is why with regard to any medicine, we want to be prayerful. We want to be very mindful about how we approach that treatment. I think that, maybe the tide is turning because of the opioid crisis in our country, which has just devastated so many lives and families. But, I think that the pharmaceutical company is, starting to make some changes there. But I'm not preaching on a big platform here today, but I'm just going to say that, you can get a prescription for just about anything, right? So you want to be mindful and prayerful in terms of how you discern that treatment for yourself. Does that make sense? Am I can I get an amen? Are you with me? Are you with me today? I hope so. Okay, she goes on to say, so do not think of the drugs as being props, for they sometimes fill the system with poisons that hinder the healing power of spirit in its work. If you need something visible to the human eye upon which to place your faith, it might be better to study along the line of dietetics and give your body the right kinds of food. And I would say, in addition to your medicine and your treatment, be mindful of what messages your body is sending you and be willing to tune in and listen to them. She says, right thinking and right eating go hand in hand in keeping one healthy. And a little bit further down, she says, God is already in every part of your being. Isn't that Isn't that a great comfort? God in the midst of you is already in every part of your being. So it is just a matter of being conscious of our oneness with God. Your thoughts of truth form this consciousness. And so again, whether we're talking about health or we're talking about wealth, whether we're talking about your well-being and your health consciousness or your abundance consciousness, it is all about being conscious of our oneness with God. Okay, I'm going to read this last paragraph here, this last closing part, because it's just so powerful. And so here's what, remember, this is, healing letters. So, this is a compilation of letters that she wrote. And so here's what she wrote to this person. She said, "We are glad to write your mother to help her see herself as God sees her and to make use of her God-given power to renew and transform her mind and body through the application of truth. But we will not help. We will not help her to be old in years. We'll help her to see that the years only add their wealth of experience and development, that the body never grows old. In fact, and you have to remember when Myrtle was writing this, right? She says, in fact, every cell of the body, if we give it a chance, is renewed and replaced in less than a year. So none of us is even a year old. Just let that sink in. She says, the only reason for some folks seeming to be old and weak and inactive is their persistence in thinking the same old thoughts. Wow. I mean, mind blown. So before you start acting old, ask yourself, what old thoughts am I thinking? What old thoughts am I thinking over and over and over again? To me, that is just amazing, right? She says the only reason for some folks seeming to be old and weak and inactive is their persistence in thinking the same old thoughts and getting into ruts and failing to make use of the good things provided for their needs. Often, folks form the habit of taking foods that they do not need, and that burdens the system years after year. After a time, the mechanism, meaning the body, that at first handled these food burdens breaks down, and then there are accumulations that begin to hinder perfect circulation and renewal. Then so-called heart trouble or high blood pressure or intestinal disorders may show up. Those who do not understand begin to say, he's getting old. Not so. He's simply disobeying the health rules. Now, I just want to say again, because I mentioned Dynamo Doris, my wonderful maternal grandmother. And, what I witnessed in her is that she ate what she wanted when she wanted. I mentioned some of that with you, but she had no old thoughts about it. She enjoyed everything that she ate and cooked. She was an amazing Southern cook. And most of you probably know what that means. Collard greens in fat bag, string beans in fat bag. Cornbread. The whole Megillah, right? But she never had that funkiness about feeling bad about it, right? So this is really an opportunity to check in with yourself. And the big teaching here, the thing that I want you to take away is your awareness of your consciousness about your thoughts and what you're thinking, to be aware of what you're thinking and how that's affecting your well-being. Now, a year ago today was the birthday of now, this might be a surprise to you, but ministers do have favorite congregants. I hope that doesn't burst your bubble. And one of my favorite congregants was Miss Ruth. And although she has passed, since, but a year ago, it was her birthday. It was 102nd birthday. And I had the joy of speaking with her that day. And I even made a note about it in this chapter. So I kind of want to, call out a dedication because this will be the first birthday for her daughter without Miss Ruth. But here's what she said to me this day. It was just so amazing and powerful. She said, "I'm 102 and I am well, and I don't have a thing to complain about. I'm 102 and I'm well, and I don't have a thing to complain about." So that is our Myrtle today. That's our Myrtle teaching today from Healing Letters. Again, it's from her chapter called Concerning Age, which, I just love that, right? So let's just take a little breath and then we'll go right into our practice of prayer and meditation. So let's do just that. I'm going to invite you to get settled into your space, your sacred space, right here in the middle of Friday or whenever you may be watching, to really just bring your heart and your mind and your soul into this now moment. And as we move forward, I encourage you to allow my words to be your words. And I invite you to allow that, because as we go through this guided meditation, I want you to be hearing it from the perspective of I am. And so, right here, right now, I allow my thoughts, my words, my actions for this day, and my deeds to come into alignment with my true nature, my love nature, for I know that I am the very presence of love. How I show up, the words that I choose to speak, and the words that I think in the privacy of my own mind. I know that I am the very hands and feet and breath of God. And so I allow this power of love to radiate from me out into the world. I make a conscious choice right here, right now, to send my love out into the world. I know that I am the very presence of love, and love can dissolve any kind of conflict. Truly. Love is another name for God. And I know that I am that I am this very presence. And so I choose how I use this power. And I choose to send it out with a radiating glow to wash over this planet, to wash over any kind of conflict, to simply begin to dissolve any kind of discord. And I do the same for myself. I do the same for anything that might be out of alignment in my body temple. And so I simply scan my body from the top of my head to the tips of my toes. And I become aware of any areas where there might be some tightness or just any areas that are sending the message that it needs a little attention, some healing, some love. And I allow this same light, this same power of love to simply wash into these areas and begin to simply dissolve, to dissolve back from that which it came into nothingness. And I allow my healing of every fiber, every tissue, every cell. I allow my healing to happen in the right and perfect way. From the top of my head to the tips of my toes, I allow mighty currents of God's healing love to flow through me now, allowing me to come into my wholeness, knowing that I am whole and complete. And so once again, I scan my body temple. I just breathe into this moment, just breathing in, breathing out. I bless my body, and I know that my body blesses me. I love my body temple, and I know that my body temple loves me, and I am so grateful for my body. I am grateful for the way it moves and breathes, and I'm grateful for my life force. And so I bless my mind, I bless my eyes, my nose, my lips, my teeth, my tongue. I bless the power of my words. I bless my throat chakra. I bless my ears and what I tune into to listen to. I bless my arms, my feet. I bless my heart chakra. My breathing capacity, my ribs, my lungs, my entire nervous system. I bless all of my internal functions. I bless my gallbladder, my kidney, my liver, my kidneys, my liver, my colon, my back, my spine, my entire pelvic region. I bless my thighs, my knees, my calves, all the way down to the tips of my toes. And so as I am able, I just lift my feet ever so slightly off the floor. And I circle my ankles in one direction. And now I circle them in the opposite direction. And I place them lovingly back on the floor. And I am aware of the power of circulation. That what I focus on and what I give comes back to me like a boomerang, multiplied. And so I'm conscious of, I am mindful of the vibrations that I am sending out. Not only because of what it's cultivating within my own mind, body, spirit, but in what I'm sending out to the world. And so once again, I choose to send out a prayer of love to all of those who are struggling, May they be blessed. May they find peace. May they find security. May they find happiness. May they find sanctuary. And so I take this with me now into a time of silence, truly where all of the answers are. And I rest in this sacred, sweet spot for just a moment, experiencing more of God, opening up my heart and my mind to more of God in me as me, right here in the silence. And so, in this moment, I am reminded that love is the great healer. Love is the great healer within my own body temple and in the world. Love is the great harmonizer on the planet. It is love that bonds together the entire human family. And so I take this with me into the rest of my day, the rest of my life, and how I choose to show up to be the presence of God, the presence of love. And so it is. Amen. And so it is. Amen. Okay, so we've had a little myrtle, a little prayer, and now we're going to sing a little song. And so if you don't know it, it's okay. You can jump in at any point. It's really simple. So here we go. From the top of my head to the tips of my toes, I'm healthy and whole in mind, body, and soul. From the top of my head to the tips of my toes, I'm healthy and whole in mind, body, and soul. From the top of my head to the tips of my toes, I'm healthy and whole in mind, body, and soul. From the top of my head to the tips of my toes, I'm healthy and whole in mind, body, and soul. From the top of my head to the tips of my toes, I'm healthy and whole in mind, body, and soul. From the top of my head to the tips of my toes, I'm healthy and whole in mind, body, and soul. Mind, body, and soul. Mind, body, and soul. That is how you put a myrtle on it. That's how you put a myrtle on it. So I want to thank you so much for being here today, whether you were here in person or watching later. And, if you are blessed by Put a Myrtle on It, then I want to invite you to make a contribution. There are 3 very easy ways that you can do that. You can go to unityofarlington.org and simply click on the donate button. You can use our text to give platform, which is Tithely, or of course you can mail your donation in through the United States Post Office. Now, all three of these are mentioned with the live stream, so you can go take a look at it there. Now, with that, I want to invite you to join us this Sunday at 11 a.m. Central Time on either our Unity of Arlington Facebook page or on our YouTube channel. My message this Sunday is trust the process. Trust the process. Now, we are finding ourselves, we continue to be in some unprecedented times, and there certainly is a lot of stress around this. Things don't always go according to our plan. And often when that happens, we may find ourselves upset, and then some loving person will say, "Oh, trust the process." And you want to headbutt them. I understand. I have been there. So we want to talk about that. Like what theologically, like how do we know that divine order is always unfolding, especially in the midst of tumultuous times? And so I invite you to join us this Sunday, 11 a.m. Central Time online, or if you're local, certainly make a reservation through the invitation. We look forward to seeing you in person. Okay, that is it for now. I love you. I really do. God bless you, and peace and blessings. Peace and blessings to you and to all people. May all people be blessed. Amen. Amen. Thank you. Until next time.